in listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on SMS Passcode, Next Generation Two-Factor Authentication. My name is Vanessa Cardwell. I'm the Marketing Manager here at Network Utilities, and I'm joined this morning by Anup Vora, UK and Ireland Country Manager at SMS Passcode. So today's webinar will give you an overview of SMS Passcode, a new generation of login security based on multi-factor authentication via the mobile phone SMS network, voice call or secure email. SMS Passcode offers a low-cost solution to the addition of tokens with scalability, reliability, fast setup and installation. So before we get started on the presentation, I'd like to quickly take you through the agenda. So we're hoping today's presentation will last about 30 minutes with an opportunity for you to submit questions, which we'll answer at the end. If you have any questions for us, do please use the question tab to submit those at any stage during the presentation. But before we kick start, we'd like to invite you to answer a couple of poll questions. We're going to be sharing the results of these poll questions with you, so do please contribute so we can get a sense of what you'd like to get out of today's webinar. So I am going to launch the first poll question now, so bear with me a second while I just do that. Okay, so you should see that first poll question on your screens now. If you could take a second to answer that. What method of authentication do you currently use? So I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds to answer that. Okay, you can see those results coming in now. A couple more seconds. That's great, thank you for that. I'm just going to, sorry, bear with me 1 second. Okay, let me just close the poll, so sorry about that, that was me, my sticky fingers there. Let me close that poll down and let me show you the results of that poll. Okay, so we can see there a mixed bag across the board there. Some of you using username and password only, some using hard tokens, most of you using soft tokens, but it would appear that there's a bit of a mix going on there. That would fit with our experience of that as well. So let me close that down and let me open up our second poll question here. Okay, so if you could take a second to answer that for us. If you're considering moving to an alternative method of authentication, what is your main reason for this? Okay, so I can see the votes coming in for that now. And I will just give you a couple of seconds to fill those in. Okay, so let me just quickly share the results of that second poll with you so you can see, and we can see across the board there that you are seeking to fulfill against various different criteria: cost savings, easy deployment, increased security, and about a third of you there looking for all of those things. So I'd like to hand over to Anup now, who will take us through the SMS Passcode solution with a demo which will illustrate how SMS Passcode fulfills against these sets of criteria. So Anup, I'm just going to hand over control of the presentation to you now.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Anup Vora, the beauty of WebEx, as I say. Normally I prefer live audience, but I guess you can hear my voice and see my presentation. So, as Vanessa said, I look after UK and Ireland from a commercial perspective. And I've been with SMS Passcode for the last 2 years. Before that I was at Checkpoint, and before that I was at CA. So I've been in the security arena for some time. So as you can see here, we're at version 6.2, which probably doesn't mean much to you, but what it means to us is it is quite a developed solution, SMS Passcode. So if I can take you through the presentation, hopefully it won't be too painful. It is quite a simple solution to explain. It is multi-factor, two-factor authentication, and this is what we do. This is all we do. So I think the key points with SMS Passcode, is when users are looking for a solution, with the advent of the economic conditions, with costs being high, they are looking for something which is much more cost-effective, which SMS Passcode is. The cost of our solution is half the price of tokens in the initial costs. That's notwithstanding or including the indirect costs which are associated with token-based installs, for example, the infrastructure, the high level of support calls, etc., etc. End-user costs are substantially lower, and fundamentally, on top of all this, it's all about security. SMS Passcode offers stronger security, which I'll take you through in my presentation. So, SMS Passcode is two-factor, multi-factor authentication. So if I can give you an example here, say of Facebook, if I log into Facebook, which you could see here, it actually says Facebook. Now if I had put Facebook here, you'd probably log in. You'd think there's nothing wrong with this. And if I can just emphasize or state, around 2-3 weeks ago, the University of Oxford was hacked into using a phishing attack. And this is exactly what happened, this sort of principle. And this was in the press, etc. So if I put my email address or username, I log in, and at this point, in reality, what would have happened was the page would have come down as, please log in again, or the connection's not working. But you can see here the username, password has been stolen, and the hackers gained access to my Facebook account, which is not a good thing from my perspective. I've showed this example as well, which is Citrix web interface. Now this could be Checkpoint, VMware, OWA. It doesn't matter what VPN connection. So this example shows I put my username, put my password, and where it says passcode, typically what I do at this point is I take my token-based code, or I take my soft token code, which is on my smartphone, which is only good for smartphones. It's not compatible for very, very old phones, if you notice. And these codes are pre-issued, so which means they are held on a database, on a seed file. Again, a clever hacker can gain access to it and extrapolate all these codes. So I put the code in, I log in, and at this point, again, what would happen is your login page is not working, and then I go away. It's a weekend, and come back, and all my files are hacked. So what the hackers gained is my passcode, username, password. So this is a phishing attack. So with the SMS Passcode, this can't happen, which again I'll show you. And this is quite interesting to see. If I log into YouTube and just put in hacking Facebook passwords, you can see here there's nearly 70,000 hits. And if you take a 15, 16-year-old kid, he or she can probably work out using one of these things how to hack a account using a phishing attack. So these are the threats which exist with pre-issued token-based codes. Again, some of the press which has highlighted phishing attacks. I'm sure you heard about the hack which happened about a year and a half ago with the RSA tokens, when Lockheed Martin was attacked, when a hack actually gained access to the seed file. Lockheed Martin actually abandoned RSA tokens, and we've seen this replicated in the UK. I've seen when I've met with customers, they are looking at a more cost-effective, smarter solution. This attack happened in Holland, whereby DigiNotar, which is Vasco's subsidiary company, the encryption keys were compromised, and it was so serious that the Dutch government actually had to make the company bankrupt. So this is what we're saying. Security is very, very important. With SMS Passcode, what we're doing is we're narrowing the threat. Security can never be 100%, but if you can narrow it, it's a good hedge. So this, I guess, is a rubber stamp slide on the sort of customers we work with. A lot of these you'll recognize, from Lego to Arla to UNICEF. In the UK, The ones which aren't mentioned here are South Wales Police, Tunbridge Council, ING, and a number of others, British Dental Association. So you know, we have got a very credible customer list. On the right-hand side, I guess, you know, the usual suspects we work with. You know, we're very close technically with Citrix, VMware, Barracuda. For example, Citrix, we help their team to co-develop the iPad app. VMware regularly demonstrate us using the VMware View on the Radius server, which is on YouTube. So, you know, if you fancy watching one evening a Radius server install using VMware and SMS Passcode, I'm happy to send you the link. So, you know, what we're saying is it's a very technically strong solution. And again, I guess most vendors have this rubber stamp slide, you know, Gartner Magic Quadrant, Secure Computer Magazine, Citrix Ready Solution of the Year. So we've got a lot of awards as well. So with the roadmap for SMS Passcode, you know, with the token-based solution, which has been effective for the last 20-25 years, but the threat has really materialized in the last few years with smarter hackers and a more cost-effective solution. You know, SMS Passcode have come up with a real-time password challenge and response session-based coding method, which I'll show you. So if I can go straight to my demonstration, I can't hear you, so I'm just hoping you could all hear me. So if I say go to a Citrix login, and again this could be VMware, Checkpoint, Cisco, you name it, doesn't matter. I'm using a Citrix Zen app. So if I put in my username, put in my password, now at this point my password hasn't been generated yet because we have no seed file, there's no database, there's no way a hacker can gain access before. So only when I hit log on, a randomly generated password is being generated and it's locked to the session. You'll hear my phone in a minute. So I've just received a code. I hope you heard that. Now it's come up as a display flash. You could see here I've got 28 seconds left. Now you could actually put the default time to 90 seconds or 2 minutes. Once this times down, now I'm not actually going to put my passcode in this field here. So once it times down to 0, my code will be obsolete. So this is session-based. It's not time-based. So you'll find some multi-factor, two-factor authentication companies will receive a code and it's valid for 3 hours, 4 hours a day. So now it's obsolete. Now I'm receiving a code on my very own old phone, which I've just received, which again I won't put into the field. Now I've got the first code which I received was on a smartphone, and the second phone which I used for the purpose of demonstration is a phone which is about 11 years old. Now the reason I'm demoing it like this is because I'm just trying to re-emphasize that you do not have to put a Java applet or an app on the phone. Now this code is obsolete. Now I've received an email, as you can see here. Now what we've also introduced is location services. So it shows here that it's a trusted location because I have logged in from my office before. The passcode is a memorable one. We've actually patented this just to give the user a very easy feel rather than having a very long alphanumeric passcode. Now, email is only secure on a BlackBerry server. The reason we introduced this was because in Japan they have Docomo. Now this code is obsolete now. Now it's failing over to voice call. Now I'll receive a phone call, which I've just received. So I'll just play that.
We're using our phone verification system. Your code is 103666. Once again, your code is...
So when I log on, so I've got 16 seconds and I'm straight into my network. So you could say that in the experience I've had with SMS Passcode in the last 2.5 years, is that nearly 99.9% of the time the users use text-based. It's the most reliable form. But all I'm doing is I'm demoing all the failovers which exist. The other question we get asked is, what if we have an engineer or a user in a data center or an area where there's no coverage? Then tokens is better, right? Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we can generate a static-based code, which is based on time-based, which is valid for 1 hour, 24 hours, 48 hours, or we can provide with something called a USB key, UB key, which is a token. So we might have a customer who has 500 users, but they may want 2 or 3 UB keys because they have engineers who are in data center, but there's no coverage. So what we've done is we've worked out all the failovers and all the possibilities where you can't connect using a mobile phone. So that is basically SMS passcode. Now, if I log off, and if I show you a login via, say, OWA, and if I can just state that the license is user-based. So if you have OWA or Cisco or Citrix or multiple VPNs, all you require is one license. You do not need multiple licenses. So again, put in my username, put in my password, I log on, and now you could see here it's sent. I've got 40 seconds, so I've just received it. So if I put it in, this time I won't wait till all the failovers finish. RAHXYS. I log on, and I'm straight into my email. Simple as that. So that is basically SMS passcode. It's a very simple method to log in. If I can return to my presentation, I'm sure you'll have questions at the end. So this is the way the display flash came up. So whether it's a smartphone or it's a very, very old phone, you can see here this says non-trusted location. So it's probably a place where I've not logged in from before. The passcode is a memorable one, not an alphanumeric one. The country was Germany. Organization was network GmbH. My network came up as BT. And once you dismiss it, it's not retained in your inbox. And this is compatible with all phones. This was a login method. Basically, a session ID is generated, a username password entered, and at that point a randomly generated passcode is issued, and that's one time linked to that session. That's very important. It's linked to that session, and it's not time-based. Once it's entered, it's validated, and I'm straight into my VPN. And it's as simple as that, the SMS passcode. You can see these are all the delivery methods. So the first 4 were session-based, which is very important for security, which was text, email, phone, and we have a static-based of personalized passcodes or USB key if there's no coverage. And all you need in the backend is Active Directory, LDAP or Global Catalog. There are no AD schema extensions needed. It's a plug-and-play system. You could set up different groups, nested groups, child domain supported groups. You can have different methods of delivery for different areas of the organization. It refreshes every 5 minutes, so as you add or remove users, it'll refresh, or you could do an instant refresh. You could say that SMS passcode sits right in the middle. It's the engine, and these are all the vendors we support. You could, if you have 10, 50, 100, or 1,000 servers, it doesn't matter. You could dissect these data centers around the world, or regionally, or geographically, and you can have New York, London, Copenhagen, say, Singapore. And with SMS passcode, if you install it on one server and say one of the servers, wherever they're located, goes down, it'll replicate. So you can see all these clients we support as well, from Radius Protection to Citrix Gateway to ISA, TMG, and now we support ADFS, which is part of SAML, which includes Office 365, Google Apps, Salesforce. So the only add-on solution we have with SMS Passcode is something called a password reset module. Some customers like this, some customers prefer this method to go through their support division. We had a council who actually took this on. This is for users who forget their Windows AD login, say if they're on holiday or away for a couple of days. Rather than calling support to reset it, they can reset it themselves using challenge response. So you could see here the customer puts his or her username, they remember their personal PIN code that generates a passcode onto their phone, which they put in, and the new field comes up, which they put in new password, confirm password, and the Windows AD has been changed. And this is quite a neat functionality which we've got, and we have a patent pending. No other multi-factor authentication company has this. We have a housing trust in the UK which actually adopted this because they had an problem with brute force attack. And you can actually block countries. So we've made Denmark green light, all users in Denmark can access the VPN, all users in UAE. We've blocked out Nigeria, and you could block out countries by way of geography. So I guess the reason I've got this slide up is with mobile phones, it's increasing. Even remote users have mobile phones. I've worked for an organization where I've had a token and I've forgotten, or it's broken, where I've been abroad, and it's been a challenge to get it replaced. So I think the messaging is with SMS Passcode, it's very easy to deploy. It's a plug-and-play system, and it's very cost-effective as well. So these are some of our competitors. What we're saying now is with SMS Passcode, it's more secure in terms of login, half the cost to run. We coexist with tokens as well, so if you're doing a migration, it's very easy to deploy. It offers a stronger, secure login, stronger platform, and we're a technology leader. And the shift to mobile has been happening in the last few years, and we just see it increasing. So I guess it's over to Vanessa. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. If you have any questions, then please fire them off, or you can get in touch via Network Utility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Anoop. I'm going to open up to questions now. So if you have got any questions for Anoop, if you could email those over to us now using the question tab, which you should be able to see on your controls panel now. And I will read those out to Anoop and we'll get going with those. So Anoop, here's one that's just come in now. How is the SMS Passcode solution priced and licensed?
Okay, well the pricing is very simple. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, that's better, much better. I could hear myself echoing. So it's priced per user. For a new site, all you require is a starter pack, which comes with 5 users, and then it's depending on how many users you have. It's price banded, so it's 5 to 49, 50 to 99. It's pretty much like the old antivirus model. It's not subscription based. It's a perpetual license. So what you can purchase on top of that is software assurance, either 1, 2, or 3 years. But when we do a price comparison, the price difference between 1 and 3 years is literally 15, 16%. So if I can give you an example, list price for, say, for example, 100 users is around roughly around £6,500. Okay, so that's for 3 years, and in year 4 you take a small percentage of that. So your total cost of ownership is much lower. And if I can show you my screen, I hope you could still see my screen.
Yeah, we can see you.
So if you could, this example is on 800 users, for example, and we've put a ballpark figure. I mean, the price for tokens varies from 45 to 60 pounds. Okay, so we've put in £860 here. RSA maintenance, I've put a very low figure here. We've put in 5% will be lost or damage, and to replace that will be 20 quid. And if you go to economic figures, you can see here that the payback is in 13 months. The total cost of ownership, investment, return of investment should I say, is 188%. And these are direct costs. We're not even factoring in the indirect costs of support calls or users facing downtime when they can't align their VPN with the token-based codes, which I've had as well. So it's, I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Anoop. While you were taking us through the pricing there, we've had a number of questions come through. So I'm going to read these out one by one and field them over to you, Anoop, if that's okay. So the first one we've got through here is, can the country block stroke allow per user and time bound? So if we have a member of staff traveling to China for 1 week, we could enable it for that person only for the duration of that visit?
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, so I will actually have to come back to that. I believe we can, but I need to confirm with our technical department on that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anoop. So for the person who submitted that question, thank you. We will get back to you with a response on that as soon as we can. Another question for you here, Anoop, is can you explain how the SMS infrastructure will work? So this might link to things like the transition period when replacing tokens with SMS passcode, that kind of thing. Could you expand on that for us, Anoop?
Okay, I can answer that twofold, the question. So the infrastructure is very simple. We don't advocate third-party web services like Clickatel or bundled SMS providers. Great for game shows, but not good for security or reliability. The infrastructure is based on having a modem which sits behind the firewall. You could directly connect via serial into your server or connect via Ethernet. So we have, say for example, if you have companies which have got 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 users globally, you could set up a modem in a few countries where you see high level of usage, which reduces cost, and you just align it to your mobile provider, whether it be Vodafone, O2. The cost of SIM is we've worked out to around £6-7 a month for that SIM, and it's unlimited text free of charge.
Okay, great, thank you.
I hope that answers the question.
Lovely. We have about 3 or 4 questions. I'm just going to skip through these. Next one is, how do you combat the threat of SMS intercept, e.g. SIM swap?
Okay, that is a very good question, and we have been asked that a number of times. And if you were to put it to my CEO, he has a very good explanation. He's one of the founders of SMS, and he gets asked this a lot of the time. So if I can just replicate what he says, is we've had no historical data to show this has happened. It's the most reliable and secure method because we're locked into that session. For example, if a company has Vodafone, and once you generate the SIM, once it comes onto your phone, it is session specific. So it's hard to intercept that. The only way they can gain access to my machine is if I had someone point a gun to my head and literally me in front of my laptop. Otherwise, if this did happen and I received an SMS which showed from Africa or somewhere, then I know there's something wrong. So I know pretty instantly. I hope that answers the question.
All right, great. Thank you, Anoop. We've got 3 more here. Is an agent required on the back-end servers, or does the software stand alone?
Okay, that's a very good question. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's a plug-and-play system. When we do InfoSec, one of the questions I asked is, how long does it take to deploy, say, a 500-user token-based solution, including the soft tokens? And the sort of answers I get back is between 6 and 8 weeks, and it's pretty intensive. To deploy SMS Passcode on 500 users takes probably under an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes. It's in the back end. You don't need a dedicated server. You could use your existing server because it takes very small it has very small CPU, RAM, space, which is required. So you install it on the back end. Nothing is deployed on the front end like Java applet, and it shoots it out.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that, Anoop. And the last two questions we have here for you are, does the SMS passcode service would integrate into TMG, for example, sit in the DMZ?
Yes, absolutely. So one of my slides actually shows that, which is, if you can see here, I mean, one of the beauties of SMS Passcode is, we do support a lot of clients. And if I can just add, our support department is absolutely excellent if any assistance is needed. So if I can, it's gone blank. Let's see. So yeah, it does. It's looking, my screen's looking blank, but yes, we do.
Okay, great. And I've got one last question here. We have ISDN. Will this work? Did you get that question, Anoop?
Sorry, they have what?
So the question is, we have ISDN. Will this work?
Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah, okay, so no problem. All right, Anoop, thanks for taking the time to answer those questions. For those of you whose questions we couldn't get to straight away, we will get back to you with responses on those. Thank you very much indeed, Anoop, for joining us today. And thanks to everyone who attended today's webinar and for all the questions. It's great to see so much interest and so many questions coming through for us. We hope you found the webinar and the presentation today useful, and the recording will be made available shortly, so do please keep an eye out for that. And if you'd like to speak to a solutions expert for anything you've seen today, then please do get in touch with Network Utilities, and we'll be following up with you all shortly. Thanks very much, and thanks, Anoop.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.